When this exclusive clip first dropped on Disney Investor Day, although it's not a clip, it's a trailer. But anyway, when it dropped, a lot of you, the biggest reaction was, oh my God, is that D.B. Cooper? And I was like, who? And I was surprised at how many of you knew who D.B. Cooper was, or how many of you or at least how quickly it spread. So D.B. Cooper was a real life guy who pulled off a robbery and disappeared. He disappeared. And of course, they're making it look like that was Loki. And also, it turns out they reference, this is you could only see this if you were doing the shot by shot, but some crazy video game that also has an arcade game that has a really crazy history. It's a myth. And I think that to go beyond just Marvel mythology into real world mythology, pretty interesting, is a very clever approach from a business perspective. Because once you introduce that, that means that forever going forward when anything quirky happens in life, you'll be like, maybe it was Loki. And that's great brand, to associate your brand with something that's in the world. Forget just within the cinematic universe that you've created. Speaking of mythology, in the comics recently, Loki has decided, if you're not reading Thor right now, you're missing out. It's so good. Loki, I don't believe, has a comic book at the moment. It's hard to write a good Loki comic, although Kieran Gillen did a damn good job with Journey into Mystery. Anyway, Loki has decided he doesn't want to be the god of lies anymore. What? He's trying to turn over a new leaf, trying to turn a corner. He wants to be the god of stories and myths. We'll see how that works out for him, but I wonder if that's foreshadowing something they're going to try and do in the MCU. He's always been an anti-hero. I also think it's very interesting that Loki and Black Widow have been around pretty much since the beginning, and in fact they had a pretty important exchange in the first Avengers movie. But it's taken so long for either one of them to get into the spotlight. But it seems that it was worth the wait, particularly for Loki, because he doesn't get a movie, he gets a series, which is going to be basically a really long movie. I'm very excited for this. It just took off like a rocket when it debuted because it was extraordinarily good. I mean, it's a blatant ripoff of Umbrella Academy, and as the MCU continues to expand, it's just copying left and right. And it's so successful and it does things so well that I think the other IP is powerless to stand against it, which, is a little sad, but it's just so good over here in the MCU. It's hard to be that sad about it. I also think it's interesting that as Kevin Feige also expands, he's moving beyond recent or even semi-recent Marvel storylines. So he's having to start to mine the Silver Age. Silver Age comics are incredibly different in terms of tone than modern recent comics. All comic book companies, it was a different time in the 60s and stuff, 60s and 70s, that time period, and the kinds of comics that came out. It's a very different mindset. And so I'll be curious to see if it's as popular. The Eternals is a really difficult property to adapt. No one currently reads the Eternals because there isn't an Eternals comic. We'll talk about the Eternals when the Eternals show up. But Time Variance Authority, this is really going into, speaking of time travel, into Marvel's past. And it's a little bit more, I think it's a little harder to get into. And I wonder if the current comic books maybe will start to pick up these storylines again as well, because now we're back in them. All right, so let's go through this. There's lots and lots to uncover. All right. So this trailer, exclusive clip, starts with an actual clip. Here's the clip. Although it's not exclusive, it's from Avengers Endgame. One of my favorite sequences when they recreated this period in MCU history, and they redid the actors to look like they were filming this movie, at the time when they made the first Avengers. And I thought that was hilarious. I don't like that hair on Tom Hiddleston. It's super gelled. But I thought this was a great clip. So he escapes using the Tesseract, which already has quite the history itself in the MCU, powered Captain Marvel, etc. And I felt that at first that it looked like he was going through a Doctor Strange kind of space, Maybe also it looks a little like the quantum realm too. But then there are some colors, so maybe it has a little bit of the Bifrost as well, right? They're going to have to work to distinguish all these different types of travel. Or maybe they are actually all related. But look, there's like a clear rainbow burst there. And they do use the Bifrost later in this very exclusive clip. It's a trailer. All right, so anyway, let's see here. So he gets spit out, as I said, in a desert, and it would have been hilarious if Finn had sat up right next to him. They're both Disney, and Finn would be like, I did get Disney Plus. Hello now, hooray! So pay attention to what Loki's wearing here. It's going to become very important a little bit later on in our discussion. That's his classic look. Although his hair now looks much better, no longer gelled into oblivion. I'm so happy. I think Tom Hiddleston hasn't looked, sometimes his dye job looks a little bit, hot topic-y. But, I think that in this, it looks like they really made an effort to get the hair just right, and it looks more natural. Because, he's a blonde in real life, or redhead. And so clearly he's time traveled. And I love the look on his face. It's so funny. But his coloring is a little different. It doesn't really quite totally suit. He doesn't have the eyebrows. But let's see here. So then you see there's the title of Loki, and you see like these kind of Asgardian, symbols, which is very cool. Very Loki. And then this is gorgeous. Part of me wonders, did some location scout find this? I mean, is this a real building? It's just stunning. It looks a little bit to me like a real building. It might not be, but it's beautiful. So it's the Time Variance Authority, which is apparently an architectural marvel. They should give tours for architecture because there's other shots of it, and it's a beautiful building. And obviously, as you can see, also quite vast. I wonder if I think it's called Chronopolis. That's where Kang lives. We'll talk about Kang the Conqueror in a moment, who we know is coming because it's been confirmed by Kevin Feige that Jonathan Majors is playing that character in the new Ant-Man movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. So anyway, here they are in the elevator, and apparently, according to the subtitles for this teaser, Owen Wilson is playing Mobius M. Mobius. So sorry, Morbius. Someone else Marvel's come in here and taken that name too, basically. So he is a mid-range kind of like bureaucrat at the TVA. And in the comics, he has a history with the Fantastic Four where he had a bit of a run-in, and he thought he was going to lose his job, but he actually got promoted. So I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens here, where he has a run-in with Loki, thinks things are going to go south, and he's going to get demoted or fired, and he ends up getting a promotion at the end of the show. Also, apparently, a lot of the people at the TVA who work there are clones, so we might see more than one Owen Wilson, which I would not object to whatsoever. So also you can see the outfit that Owen Wilson has on. You're going to see Loki in a similar kind of TVA khaki green a little bit later on. But right now Loki's wearing a TVA jumpsuit and some kind of inhibitor, which reminds me of the X-Men, obviously. But here it's inhibiting his powers. That must be pretty powerful to inhibit the strength of a god. And you can't see the label that well here, but in another shot it says danger, and then I can't read what's underneath it. So it says TVA right on his uniform, and they're having a little chit-chat here about lying, saying Loki loves to lie, which I think is great. The two of them together are going to have great scenes. So such a good use of Owen Wilson. He looks great, too. Great look. So hilarious. I love even in the elevator looks great. Is that a real elevator, or did they build it? If they built it, they spent a lot of money. All right, so here, these are called Minutemen. Get it? Oh my God, it's such an Umbrella Academy ripoff. But they seem to be like in the Old West. So they send in these troops to different time periods to take care of things at the TVA. The TVA basically, just like in the Umbrella Academy, is in charge of making sure that all the different timelines and periods in time don't get disrupted and everything moves ahead smoothly. So here they are. It seems like the Old West. There's one of our nemesis, and the Minutemen are no match for them. Is it Sophia DiMartino? We'll discuss. So that looked to me a little bit like Tony Stark's bar in the Avengers Tower, but I don't believe it is, although it kind of looks like it. I guess he and the TVA have a similar decorator. All right, so anyway, that is a nice mirror. Now look at this. This is very interesting. This is the first of 2 times that you see this trio. A little bit like the trio reference that we saw in Thor Ragnarok, although that went nowhere. But anyway, Kang dresses like this. In fact, the middle figure I would think would be Kang, except that looks nothing like Jonathan Majors. But these three individuals are dressed very much like Kang, who is a very important figure in Marvel Comics when it comes to time travel. Fascinating character, such a lucky break for Jonathan Majors, and he's deserving of it. But that's a great role. And to race bend that role, that's really a big deal. It's very exciting. So here you have some Minutemen flanking. What you're going to see in just a moment is like some sort of judge. There's justices in the TVA, but usually those are like Judge Dredd characters who are like, generals among the Minutemen. So, but anyway, she looks, Gugu Mbatha-Raw looks so fantastic there. She's very well cast here as well. So she's like the judge here. You can see there are some papers there for her review there. And there, by the way, you can kind of see it has a 3, and then I believe it says that second word is court. So it's cool 70s, like modern kind of mix in here. They really decided they liked the 70s at the TVA, I guess, which is funny. He looks great there. Even his hair, messy, is fantastic. Now look at this room. Those are the 3 guys again in their statue form, although that's not, Kang doesn't usually wear a coat like that. So the headpieces are very Kang, so Kang is probably going to be tied into the TVA in some way. But I don't think this is a real location. But if it is, I want to go to there. It's just gorgeous. And you can see that's part of the escalators, elevators there behind them. That's the same dual thing in the middle there. But it's just a gorgeous space. What's the cafeteria look like? Do you have a gift shop? Those are the places I like to visit whenever I go to a cool place. All right, so anyway, here's the TVA, like some kind of briefing room, also very well designed. This reminds me a little bit of that Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy movie, which I did not enjoy, but aesthetically it was a phenomenal film. So they have like some kind, so it's a mix of old and new technology, which makes sense if you're the TVA, right? Because you have access to all of it. They're like, we like the aesthetics of steampunk and stuff like that, but we have the most advanced technology too. So I don't know why he's showing Loki old stuff. Loki's like, yeah, I've seen this thing, I lived it. So here, this is interesting to me. I wonder what this glowy thing is in the foreground, but I love the Roxxon store. I love Roxxon. It's a fabulous company. Well, not actually, but from a story standpoint, it is. It's so important. It ties in very much to Thor's storyline, because they go and they try to mine all the different worlds from Asgard. I forget what it's called. Like the realms, the realms. I forget there are 7 realms or something. But anyway, I'll put a picture up of how many realms there are. But Roxxon wanted to mine them for material, and there is actually a mining shot later in this. We thought maybe they were going to do this in the new Thor movie with hopefully Christian Bale playing Dario Auger, Ager, whatever, who's an executive there who also can turn into a Minotaur. But Kevin Feige confirmed that Christian Bale is playing Gore the God Butcher in that, which is another storyline. So maybe they'll do the Roxxon stuff here. And actually, since they do show the mining, maybe they are. Because, Loki's also from Asgard and would be interested in that. So there's something going on at this Roxxon store. They really should use Roxxon. It's a great company. So as you can see, now Loki is kind of working for the TVA. He has a tie on similar to Owen Wilson's, and he's got his own Minutemen with him. This guy, I don't know. He looks innocent, but maybe it's a ruse. He's in the pet supply aisle. What's happening? Now is this the same cloaked figure from earlier? And did this happen before or after Loki and his group showed up? Now this is cool. This is like a metal detector, but it obviously has been repurposed for something else, maybe from some kind of time travel or something. But Loki's not enjoying it. It looks like they're in another elevator. What is that? A metal detector in an elevator? And you can see, look at the ground there. A lot of crazy stuff happens inside that little space. But I love the bureaucracy of the TVA, though. That's so fun. All right. So yes, everybody's pointed out that there is a stained glass window of the devil here, and that would be Mephisto, which is Marvel's version of the devil, and who's been rumored to be showing up in WandaVision, potentially played by Evan Peters. So very interesting to see him show up here as well. You have a Minuteman there stationed with Owen Wilson's character, although I'm not sure who this little girl is. It's probably not even a little girl. But he seems to be making some kind of actual deal with the devil right there, right? So let's see. Now here, this is cut to make it look like Gugu Mbatha-Raw and her 2 Minutemen are fighting Loki, But I think it's just cut that way. Although I love the callback to his blade move that he used so cool in Thor Ragnarok. So I think that's great continuity. So here, some kind of planet that's exploding. Maybe this is Roxxon destroying the environment, right, in the realms with its mining, right? It does almost seem like that's what's happening here in the foreground. They're just ravaging these environments. Now here's a cool shot we thought it was Black Widow because it kind of looks like that, but it also, this female character also has the same styling, it seems, of Sophia DiMartino, who we've seen in on-set photos. Now, I also want to quickly point out before we talk about her that it looks like pipes there, which also underscores the Roxxon mining storyline, which I'm actually really happy because I loved that storyline in the comics, so I'm happy to see it used here. I'm happy to see it mined for the MCU. Now, is Sophia DiMartino playing Enchantress because she's been spotted in green? I think there's another option. She could also be playing Lady Loki. Usually would have black hair like Loki, but maybe they decided to go blonde to kind of throw us off a little bit and to throw Loki himself off. Loki could, I heard from my sources that there would be all the different versions of Loki would show up here. Lady Loki, Kid Loki. And so maybe Loki would split up, he would have different versions of himself, and maybe he wouldn't even know it. So that'd be funny if he was fighting himself the whole time, because I do believe that the outfit that we saw Sophia DiMartino in looks a little bit like Loki's outfit, which I think was why some people theorized that she might be playing Lady Loki. So very interesting. Now this is very cool. That's Avengers Tower back there. So this is some timeline where New York has had a problem. So I hope Loki can fix it. As long as it benefits him to fix it, he'll fix it. So that's really cool. That's very interesting. Very, very Umbrella Academy. So here we go. This is the DB Cooper scene with that kind of an airplane. So there he is. They did do a good job making him up to look very much like that. But here, before we finish that little quick thing, here's the mining. You can see they're mining, and perhaps that is Roxxon mining. I think that's fascinating. There seems to be a problem. And I think he's running for a TVA time machine. I think that's what that little building is, because it has that kind of technology. We'll see what that is. Or maybe it's something to do with Roxxon. But so he's trying to get to that. So here we have a fight in Rock's cart. And then they cut to some, this is to me, because he's smiling, looks like actually a celebration, not a fight. So very cleverly done in the edit. Here's another fight, which looks like where he ends up running for President Loki, as you'll see at the end here. So I guess maybe that's how he decides to try and solve everything. But he doesn't have that outfit on just quite yet. He has his regular outfit on here. Then there's some kind of fight, what looks to be maybe like in a bar. And I'm not quite sure who these guys are. They seem to have numbers, matching numbers on their arms and also on their helmets. I think. We don't get a very good shot at them. But I'm curious. They look a little Guardians in the Galaxy, which is interesting. And then here he is again on the plane, doing his DB Cooper, who we now all know who that is. And he says, Heimdall, and Idris Elba's like, am I still in this? I thought I left. So he's like, you better be paying attention. But of course he is. Heimdall sees everything. And although Heimdall has been swapped out for Sif in the comic books, which makes me wonder if that's why Jamie Alexander might have been brought back for the upcoming Thor movie to take over that, because I don't think Idris Elba wants to be here anymore. So I think she's going to take over as the, as the guardian of the Bifrost. But Heimdall is paying attention and picks him up. Oh, I love it. I love this, all the different, for some reason the wallpaper one is my favorite. But, it's very cool. And then this made me so happy, as you might recall in my reaction, because it's straight out of the comic. And he looks great in it. That suit is perfectly tailored. It's so comics accurate, but it's so incredibly well realized. It's fantastic. I mean, I've never seen him look that good. I think that the headpiece is finally the right size. I think his hair looks great. I think the costume is so well designed. I think the distressed suit is very clever and distressed just perfectly to balance him out. Give him a little bit of, breadth to his shoulders. You don't need a shoulder pad. How about just a ripped up shoulder? But it is serving the purpose of a shoulder pad. I guess it is a ripped up shoulder pad, but it looks great. And so he's like, come on, surprised. And he just does that so well. I feel like Tom Hiddleston, I feel like he's been phoning it in a little bit in the last few movies because maybe he too has felt like his character has had nowhere to go, but I feel he's back in it. I think he's back in it and excited to play the character, and that comes across in his performance. And then, this is fantastic. Oh, he didn't see that coming. They totally turn on him. I wonder what the plant theme is in here. Is that plants or is it like wires? That's very interesting. And it's coming to Disney Plus. I can't wait. It comes out the same month as Black Widow. Isn't that funny? Another correlation between the two. I think this is going to be a massive hit. And there will be lots and lots to uncover with each episode, both in the MCU and in the real world, in terms of mythology. So what do you think? Share your thoughts and theories down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.